I want to talk about the big three, and more specifically, I want to talk about each of the characters, like the poster boys, Ichigo, Naruto, and Luffy. One of the interesting things that I've noticed about them is that they often, represent a similar characteristic to each other, while also doing something more than the previous one did. A good example is if we start off with Naruto and Luffy. These are prime example characters of following your dream. But the difference is that Naruto felt like he needed to prove himself, where Luffy rarely ever did, if at all. Luffy treated his dream as a goal that he already achieved, and every moment was just the adventure to get there. Where Naruto showed everyone exactly what it is that is going to make him greater than those that came before. Now, this is where we can draw similarities to Naruto and Ichigo, where society views them in a certain way, but where Naruto is trying to prove himself, Ichigo couldn't care less. He never cared about how people viewed him. He never worried about whether or not they saw him as a delinquent, whether they called him Strawberry, he was a thug. He wasn't concerned about any of this. Actually, he groomed his image to be this. Because he was always more concerned about what he actually did, not on what people saw him as. And his close-knit friend group got to see the type of person he actually is. Which is an interesting thing because Naruto also had a close friend group, but the funny thing is, they both understood and failed to understand Naruto on multiple occasions, to where, they would literally... They knew that they could rely on him, but they often viewed him as being unreliable, and they would make certain decisions because they couldn't rely on him, despite the fact that they relied on him. It was a very conflicting aspect of his character, or how his character was perceived. Then you have the aspect of how the characters, each of the three, protect those closest to them. When it comes to Naruto and protecting others, I do think that, of course he's going to protect them, but I do think that this placates very similarly to the point earlier of that constant need to prove himself, to prove that he's got your back, to prove that he's reliable, to prove that he's going to be there. When it comes to Luffy, it's not that, of course, he's going to protect, but it's more of a matter of he trusts you probably more than you trust yourself. And that's a much stronger motivation and companion to have in that aspect of building up your own strength as well. And when it comes to Ichigo, he just really doesn't like it when you mess with his stuff. That's the level of he literally goes through hell when you mess with his turf. He's a thug through and through. But yeah, these were just ideas or things that just popped in my head as I've been looking at anime. So, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like I've nailed it? Do you feel like I terrible read of character? Let me know in the comments.